아래 가상한테 다 쉬어야 돼. 아니 감성 코위 지당 저가 성을 타고 거래 생각서 타지电商 den주 밀리를 뭐지. 아니 톱 그래서 다들 den주 밀리를 뭐지 하다 미고 방 먼저 고방 톱아 있나야 된제라 안디고에서 디자미 되게 말해서 지상 코위 명망에 코와래 타요 말에 하다 미고 방 톱아나 코와래 타요 말. 제가 코와래 타고 그래서 코와래 마타나 띵이 되어야 말해서 코와래 마타나 녀마마 마바마자 양자 코와래 끼제 마선을 끼에 내가 요래서 되는 인상은 코위 동안에 타고 그래서 지상 코위 동안 타야라 아니 코위기 제시선바 남기 당번년의 지대로 코위 동안에 타고도 쓰면 코와래 괜다 내래 타도 유미중 삼박권 되네 아니 잠니지 검제 저주심 제도스님은 나와래 되네 인자는 나오지네야 아니 코위 동안이야 괜다 아니 내래 코와래 타도게 삼박에 되네 코와래 타야 삼박에네 코와래 타야게 된다라 아니 진행님들 출연 수요바 전주 3대 아니另外 있음이 계셔 주야 당 아니 디버 봐야 될 배수 오래서 제가 상관도 어디 거시시
Yesterday we spoke about the need to reflect on the sufferings that our beings are experiencing right now in the suffering realms, in the suffering lower realms, to give rise to the strong determination to do everything we can to prevent ourselves from falling into such a rebirth. And with this motivation, we then turn towards reflecting on who can guide us to attain freedom from such a rebirth. And there, seeing that the three jewels have those required qualities, we then go for refuge to the three jewels. But that attainment of having gone for refuge with the wish to attain liberation from rebirth in the lower realms, that is really insufficient when we think of the great potential that we have as human beings. We should lift our scopes much, much, much further. We should broaden our horizon and utilize our wisdom further, reflecting that, as we know from our own experience and what we observe around us, wherever one is born in samsara, one's experiences are pervaded by suffering as long as one is controlled still, under the influence still, of our afflicted minds and contaminated karma. This then leads us to reflect on the sufferings that pervade samsara, giving rise to the strong wish to be freed of samsara in its entirety. And we generate this wish to the point where we commit to striving with the very essence, with all the energy within ourselves, to gain freedom from all forms of suffering, coarse and subtle. And this leads to the generation of the mind of definite emergence. Then we take this understanding in our meditation and we apply it to the situation of others, seeing how they remain bound in samsara and seeing how inappropriate it would be to ignore them, to ignore their needs, placing our needs first and foremost. And this we use as the basis to generate bodhicitta. Having generated bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, we meditate on the practices of bodhisattvas, the 6 perfections. And thereby we make real progress in our meditation to strive for enlightenment. And both in and out of meditation as well, we apply all our mental energy and our physical and verbal behavior that it impacts to ensure that it remains in the direction of virtue. We don't accumulate any non-virtue. So this is what we looked at yesterday.
아니 대달의 시제 띵기 대화도 토바래데 이나야 아니 녀모 디바 바샤다 제가 봐요 말에 아니 시제인데 말려봐 강신거바 차상신요 말에 제가 디네자 안신리야 팬바게 좀 주투야지 민도 디엔자 디토발라 산제고바 토고고래제 산제도고바 토발라 아니 장쇼 Geshe Sim Yamni Masheba Sanjo Kopan Toyo Mari. Tiza Dini Inza Geshe Sanjo Kopan Toyala, Geshe Sim Ki Sanjo Kopan Tobi Chirdu, then Teba Chimpi Lam Yamni Gana Shio said, or that Teba Chimpi Lam Yamni Jita Korma, Chere.
And in the summary I've just presented, there in the point of the meditation where we generate the mind of definite emergence, the commitment to strive for liberation from suffering, the point was made then that having generated that, we remind ourselves that striving for my own liberation, whilst all sentient beings who are innumerable in number compared to just me alone, is really inappropriate. Whilst the attainment of liberation is an exalted goal, whilst being liberated from uncontrolled rebirth in samsara is a worthy objective in that one attains happiness that is stable and lasting, the practitioner, even one who has attained such a state, is not a being that has perfected their qualities and completely eradicated all faults. They have abandoned the afflicted minds together with their seeds, but not the stains of those afflicted minds. So striving for liberation for oneself alone, whilst others remain bound within samsara, is inappropriate. Moreover, one hasn't perfected one's potential. There is a greater goal, and that is the state of Buddhahood. That state is where a being is perfected, and moreover, where a being can be of greatest benefit to others. This is the goal worthy of a being who has achieved a rebirth, a human rebirth that is precious. This is a goal that is suitable for such a practitioner. But a mere aspiration for Buddhahood, no matter how strong, is insufficient. Bodhicitta must be cultivated. The mind of enlightenment must be cultivated in order for enlightenment to be achieved. So how does one then go about cultivating bodhicitta? The paths of the Mahayana need to be developed, and that's what we looked at now. What we will look at now, the paths of the Mahayana.
And that's easy. Thogme Dunye Dala Tsewachin Manam Duna Randi Jicha. Now
we come to the 10th practice. As I've been cared for since time without beginning by kind mother sentient beings, what is the use of my happiness alone? In order to free sentient beings limitless in number, generating bodhicitta is the practice of bodhisattvas.
Thogme Dunye Dala Tsewachin Sidu, Jesa, Semje Sedi, Koa Thoma Mebane, and Rangi, Chik Pada Ma, and Gurion Washada Res, Jesa, Rangi Pada Ma, Gurion Washada Inza, and Semjen Tamje, Dingalia. Getting chair, decaying Chawa Mari said, Dennis Kawa Kayama, Simjan Taja, Danium Res, Sadani Minza, and Simjan Tam, the Rang, the Padama, Gunyodi, Padama Chidu, and Sedigi Pamadilla Azulia, Ganes in Chavachi, Gungores, Dina Shinchin, and Horns of Dusa Yoris, Cesar, Dini in Zada, the City, some Tabaina, and Nazu Milishabaina, and Pamiki, and the Taukuna Drona, Yadika. Nangi Bugul, Nugri, Sate, Chik Pazu, Troyana, Savsa Shivucha, Kala Saya, Trade, Shivuchin, Yazawachin, Masabchin, Denigi, Gungores, and my Chilu, Tawa, Chelia, and the Chik, Pemasigi, and Delia, and the Kalare, Sere, Chik, Pamagi, Sosugi, Solid. And Geshe in the Buddha, and those children to Chigaje. The Nagazuya Chimbo Chedi, Young Pamagi, and Sosoragi, or Missy Yabuada, Mohobana, could Roja Yapochada, Legara, Yaborea, and could Digioya, Dondalangazuya, Chujunia, and Jilojotia, Tangazuya, Jilapchekia, the Embassy, Dusine, Gungores, Cesar Pama said, Mazuki, that it's sitting as those Nazu, some Tawena, Pama said, Masangazulia, getting Chimboshu, Uchi. Jesa Dina Shinda, Simjan Chasang, Rangi Pama Jinoza, Simjan Tamagi Malia, Dene getting joyous. 대양 안에 렌지 말에 렌 망보 차 망보 장가서다 장가테 좋아요 말스 진짜 빼마도 되는 얘기를 그린자 말스 진짜 그와 토마메 반에서 토메 뒤에서 토마메 반에 나만들이야 두시네 제가 제시한 경화를 제가 되네서 랑 생전 탐저라야 빈 그린 첨보다 진 첨보다 휴지에 시월 다되네 토메 뒤에 달에 제가 전세대.
Looking at the first line, as I've been cared for since time without beginning. So here, right at the start of the meditations, to cultivate the mental paths of the Mahayana, we need to make our mind very broad, to encompass the expanse of lifetimes. We need, certainly by this point, to have developed a broader mind. And now we need to make it ever broader, reminding ourselves that we have had lifetimes without beginning, and in each life we were cared for by others. And this is imperative because sentient beings are limitless in number, and all of them, since beginningless time, we have had relationships with all of them since beginningless time. None of them are strangers to us. And in these relationships, they have cared for us, have been kind to us. And whilst we don't remember even our immediately preceding life, let alone beginningless lifetimes, we start with the lifetime we do remember, this lifetime, but with the understanding that we're using it as a representative of beginningless lifetimes. In this lifetime, from the moment our parents were aware of our conception, they changed their lifestyle around us. They changed their lifestyle to care for us because we were so vulnerable. From the moment of our birth, when we were so vulnerable and defenseless, our parents cared for us, always having our welfare at the forefront of their attention, even if necessary with their own body protecting us. When we started to become a little more independent, this didn't stop. Our parents continued to care for us, always with our welfare at the forefront of their attention. And as we grew and developed, our parents, to the very best of their abilities, guided us, wanting only our happiness. They imparted their knowledge, imparted their wisdom, took us in directions which they believed would enable us to achieve happiness in this life. From the point of conception, continuously, our parents have shown us tremendous kindness, putting our needs first. And the kindness that they showed us was motivated not just to protect us in that mere moment, but they wanted us to achieve happiness. This then is the starting point. But we start reflecting on the kindness we've experienced in this life from our parents, but with understanding that this is the relationship we have with beings since beginningless time.
어디니 대자나 ਸਮ전 탐지 랑기 파마지비 파마다 되니기 제뒤갑라 되니 그리치 뭐 제발에 장와래 저사다 파마 매비 갑라이나 파마 매비 그 마지비 갑이메네 ਸਮ전 탐지 랑리아 진치 뭐 그리치 뭐 제거라 그래서는 아니 semjen 가시기다 내가 내세 안디기 제공아 저기 롱주아들에 semjen 베네 베주로 지나 아니 가서 내가 꾸이제네 semjen기 베주고 오마레야 아니지게 샤다 빠빠다 데니기 베주다야 아니지게 semjen전도 쓰거래 데니자 가지 미루시네 미카시게 데니게 나지게 소다다 데니 주요도 양나 저기 디나 내가 레디자네 지가 저기 내가 라저 라야다 디토네 아주 소기야라고 제가 디네자도 누 삼다베네 파마 마지베네 가버리네 아무 semjen 간시나 소설레라냐 니 딘체보다 끝딘체보 슈시샤 제가 대신 semjen 탐지 semjen 세데 오네 간시 삼다베네 라레 뱀마시 끝딘체보레 삼제 디네자 Geshe Simje Thamjelia, and Jilin Jo Wudu, some Jedos do some Dangore Jerwa.
When reflecting on the kindness of others, one starts with one's parents because this is easiest to relate to. And we can take this from this life and relate it to previous lives. But we need to go beyond just those who were our direct caregivers, because countless beings have received benefit from countless beings indirectly. The easiest to understand is the food we consume. We don't know the farmers who grow our food and all the people in the production chain that process the food that we buy with such ease. That we don't know the people who have designed and manufactured and mined the materials that have led to all our possessions that we have. We don't know the animals whose bodies or the products such as milk that we consume. So we have this indirect relationship with so many beings in this one mere life, and just this one life, this indirect relationship where their activities bring us benefit. And this we need to call to mind. This starts to break down the boundaries that we feel between others, starting to realize that others, strangers to us in this life, are showing us kindness right now.
Manam Duna Rani Radi Chas, Manam Duna Radi Chichalarwa, Chesa Denige Maju Denisimja Tamje Rangi Machi Rally Jinchi Basimja Tamje Deva Debada Numa Miduba Chivares, Ran Hashing Around Deva Deba Duma Midupa, Consul in the Chesa Deva Deba the Miduba, Duma Miduba Chiba Chigares, Chesa Ina Marangi. Tangan Koi Dumal Drogu, Samje, Simja Tamje, Konju Danda, Samadache, Mara Rani, and Koi Dumala Drohe, Tabasa, Togudu, Deva, Dingi Deva, Togudu, somebody no Shas, Chesa, Simjan Tamje, Ranga Jinjimba, Simjan Taji, Dunga Pidin Ma, Dunga Yon, Dunga Yon, so Tabeko Watoji, Dingi Deva, Thogme, Garage, Karsha Horsti, Demone Marumwa, the Digminus, Chesa Diniza. Semjen Tamje, Semjen Tamje Devada Dena, Sembeki, Javada, Semjen Tamje, Duadan Dragudu, Sembeki, or Niche some Tangore.
As I've been cared for since time without beginning by kind mother sentient beings, what is the use of my happiness alone? In the reflection, when we've become aware, firstly, of the direct kindness we've received, as well as the indirect kindness, and we now are aware of the relationship that we actually do have with so many beings in this one life. And therefore, with all beings since beginningless lives, we then develop this reflection further, thinking that there actually isn't much difference between myself and these beings at all, in that I want to experience lasting, stable happiness, a happiness that is freed from even the slightest of suffering and difficulty. There's no being anywhere that wants to suffer. There's no being that says, I want problems, I don't want to be happy. We are all exactly the same in this regard. We have the same desire. This then coupled with an understanding of the relationship we have with others, as well as the kindness that they have directly shown us in so many lives, as well as also indirectly show us, leads us to think that if I remain dominated by my own self-interest and therefore strive for my own happiness primarily, how is this appropriate? Am I really the kind of person, do I see myself as the kind of person who knowingly, intentionally turns my back on others who have shown me such kindness, on others who are in such need right now? Am I really that kind of person who turns my back on them when I have so much potential? Am I really the kind of person who's concerned primarily with my own peace and happiness that I can abandon beings in such need? Thinking like this, then, turns us away from our self-interest, and we can focus then on the needs of others who are far greater in number of us, and far greater in number than us, and especially the vast majority who have no idea about the paths that lead to happiness, and therefore are lost in the dangerous states of samsara. Reflecting on the great need of these kind mother sentient beings, compassion starts to arise within us.
Geshe Thubten Rabten 지사 심전 탐제 동안의 댐바 동안의 자와다 심전 탐제 대바의 대구구도 대인장 아니 심전 탐제 디기의 댐바대 심전 타의 심전 탐제 심전 타의 바차사 대와의 댐바다 대와의 댐비 규디 가르고서는 파신주의 냠는디 제고구도 제상이 파신주의 냠는 아니 지소 파신주의 냠는 제주야랴 조와 심전랴 디니기 디기 대야다 디기 댐바 제바 디기 기규 파신주의 냠는데 제제된 게 탑시 지기인사다. 다 심지어 탐제 동화단 자고도 제가 동화단 자와라 동윤규 내가 녀마바데 방법을 대나 자고고 대나 말하나 동화를 자투야매 민도 대인장 내 심지어 탐제 동화단 자와다 니지기 동화단 자와디 동화기 규 내가 녀마바데 니 빠와 지주기 세상이 탑시지야 건설 란된제 nin ko dunga da tawa jigi dunga yuda jeba tawa jigi so da jisa taye simjan de shir taye simjan zhe shir sa de.
As I've been cared for since time without beginning by kind mother sentient beings, what is the use of my happiness alone? In order to free sentient beings limitless in number. So here, going through the stages of the meditation, we now, having cultivated some compassion for sentient beings and a commitment to put their need first and foremost, the thought goes to, or the meditation goes to, all beings wanting happiness just like I do. How can I help them achieve the state of happiness, the state freed from suffering? What is it that causes the suffering of all beings? And that we already know from the prior meditations is contaminated karma and afflicted minds. These are what have to be eliminated for beings to experience happiness. I will do so. I will guide sentient beings to be freed of suffering. This is imperative. I will guide sentient beings to be freed of the contaminated karma and afflictions. But in order to become a skilled guide, I have to train myself, and I have to train myself in the 6 perfections. It's through training well in the 6 perfections that I can gain, from a basis of experience, guide sentient beings in the methods for them to eliminate their own afflicted minds.
장슈 생계 개세 라리 세드 지난 되는 인자는 심지어 탐지기 디기의 댐바다 디유기 파신 중에 냠내데 냠는 제주야다 심지어 저 동화다 타와다 동화기 규 내가 놈을 타와데 이 지기인스 전에 kelem 지기스네 라산 남다 깨버려 되네 끼어도 한다 니 제발라다 나라야 아니 연진 지기인 차상 방와다 연대 차상 댐바지 매가 있나다 니게 건축이 나니 심지기 된 개침보디 제투사 말이 되는 인상이 심지기 되는 된 개침을 제발라 가르고 무슨 균 차상 방 연대 탐지 다 템비 댐비게 사이고 화도 마탐다 지금도 제사 사이고바 통부도 세베디니 생미심제 탐지기도 산조고바 토바쇼 생베기 아니 자주 심기고래체 지사니 산조고바 토바쇼 자주 심기는 파전 중에 냠내 타르 침바체네 사이고바 토바 지기인스 대인자 안심제 탐지 사이고바 토바쇼 자주 심기네 개바지고래 지사 자주 심바 개세 자주 심바 남기 아니 람다보 냠는 지리급라 안두스네 아니지게 예중기 되는 심지어 탐지기 되나 삼다 마시 진진 당념다 마시 진진 지소 이와잠바 아니 니시마 하산 남다 되는 삼다 디제라는 심지어 탐지 산주고바 토바 지쇼 선자주 생기 두스님네 제바레 제자두스 근데 산주고바 장주심 냠내 제발 제가 장주심 귤에 끼차네 되는 파신 주게 냠는 제네 랑기 파신 주게 냠내 제 시행sem제 탐제기다 Geshe Rabten 디보포야단 개월주비야 초탐진의 지금 아니 뒤다 넘버 건도 현이 현리에 팬버주비게 두스 차례나는 거래서 지사 되는 나와데 제시선바 남기 아니 라렌 게세 라렌 다상 되는 다와래서 그래.
Yeah, in the meditation, we're generating love for others, wishing them to be freed of wishing to them to experience lasting happiness, and generating compassion for them, wishing for them to be freed of suffering, and cultivate the relevant causes for this. We develop this to the point where we are not at all satisfied with this being left as a mere aspiration. How nice it would be. But rather we see it as our responsibility, as our individual responsibility to ensure that beings attain such a state. And this is where we generate the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, where we see it as our individual responsibility to guide each and every sentient being to a state that is freed from pain and suffering. Having generated the altruistic attitude, we already know from the experience that we have in this life how difficult it is to be of real benefit to others. So we have an awareness of our limitations. And when we are now thinking about the attainment of this goal of leading all beings, not just one or two, but limitless beings, to not just overcome daily problems that we already have a hard time helping others with, but to a state freed from all difficulties. Recognizing our limitation, we know we have to become far more developed than we are. And the more developed we are, the greater the impact we have. But if we are perfected, that is when we can work in the most skillful manner, precisely in accordance with the complexities of each being's individual karmic background and spiritual disposition. And recognizing that being able to work in accordance with the complexities of beings' karmic backgrounds and individual spiritual dispositions is the very best way to benefit them. We will strive to become such a skilled practitioner. We will strive to become a Buddha, a perfected being. And this is where one generates bodhicitta. So to generate the paths of the Mahayana within oneself, to give rise to that initial attainment of the paths of the Mahayana, all aspirant bodhisattvas train as we have had presented here, culminate in the generation of definite emergence, and then taking that realization that they have in terms of their own wish for liberation, and applying it to the situation of others, reflecting that others are no different from themselves, reflecting on the kindness, on the intimate relationship we have with others, the kindness they've shown us, etc. So generating first definite emergence, and then taking that realization, applying it to others, and cultivating bodhicitta through the 6 causes and 1 effect method. Then, having entered the paths of the Mahayana, that is when the Bodhisattva now can engage in the actual cultivation of the 6 perfections, with bodhicitta uncontrived in their continuum. Then, engaging in practices such as generosity and so forth are the perfections. And these are the activities of a bodhisattva. With these stable, they are then able to skillfully guide beings in the accumulation of the causes of happiness and the purification of the causes that would otherwise lead to suffering. These, then, are the practices of a bodhisattva.
아주 삼다만 지거로 전심바 공항주기 냠는 나와나신 루 삼다만나 아주 코와들에 타고 우도 심비 코와라 마타다 탑는 심비 내중 공부가 이렇게 좀 차고래 코와라 타도 이게 내중 깨나 되네 타바더니기 삼르기 두고래 코와라 내중으로 지만은 꽤 마타나 타바더니 람 삼리 두고 말 되네 장아 둘 코와라 타 코와라 꽤다 코와라 타도게 삼바기 내중 삼다 아디나신다 대시 전심만의 구만한 심전 탐제 라당 랑리야 디잉알이야 판도 쳐와래 디잉알로 판도 쳐와래 디잉알에 야가래 야가요 말해서 돼 니디기 니링제반에 니링가요 말 쳐서 지부지야 인제로 소소래 판도제인 밖에 된 전부 지바레스 단념레스 어두세 삼다 다 단념 공부이나 심제 담지기 나는 랑게 파담바 파람 마규용와다 안델이야 아미지 야네 야도 렌치마야 라네 야네 야도 규용와 제용와 삼다 디젤이야 아니 디 파라마지나 삼다와네 가르쳐봐서는 세디기 파마디 나와줄래 끓인 제바디 나와줄 세부하고 두고와 지산 sem전 탐절 없는 가서 하고 두고 말아 지산 파다 마규용와지 규용와래 자장가도 규용와 삼다와 있나 되는 끓인 다들 세디기 파메 끓인 제바 내 깨왕 아마도 와가지 이 파마지는 끓인 디나 지부지게 제어라서 베게 끓인에 된 두고래 대인장가서 파마지 용화의 전국으로 해서 대한 렌지 많이 봐 살먹고 전용 돼야다 다 파마지리가 블라다 마라레 진체보 끓인 첨보슈 용화이 봐sam다 끓인 첨보이 삼다 근데 파마지 마지베 갑레네 소소라 진체보 끓인 첨보도 삼다야 되제 다 소소 끓인 첨보 삼다와는 소소 가슴 파수 끓인 첨보이나 파레 아니 파 로바지에게 되어지고와 디니 인사 콘졸레 파 진len 조고도 셈비기 다 삼다야래 디니 인자도 진len 조야데 가레스네 심전 유된체야디 심전에 디유두야다 심지 둥아세야데 지자 심전 함제 대화데 대나 셈비게 삼다 잠보콤 시단 디위규 82개 냠는데 된고도 세대나 셈비게 삼다 디니 심전에 둥아다 자와쇼 셈비게 삼다 디니 소 둥아다 제비게 둥아유규 레니모 바차나 제바데 자고도 자와쇼 셈비게 디니게 삼다네 디니야 라산남다 히어도 다 심자담지 대화의 temba도 동하나 자와의 내치기 된자 동하의 규단 규례의 념을 바쳐나 제바도 바와의 치기나 선배기 삼다네 안디나시 삼다의 디장의 심자담지도 산요고바 마tum의 지금의 산요고바 토버쇼 심자 삼다 산요고바 토서나 니디다 남바 군두 콘솔이야 직판도 개침부지 두고리 된자 산요고바 토버쇼 선배기 두 지나간 주인의 니네니들이야 안디니게 삼다 근데 삼다네 니나 파준두게 냠는디게 탈침바지 지기 제투어 쇼서야 돼 어두스는 가지고 아니네 가지고 디삼다디 디 지제 디기다 돈 납질랭과디 디차고래
Nikone de tamade watu intiminje asangi kopang tupkores den detsane kara karisubebe
산지 고아 줍스는 심쟁이 된 개침부 판바 개침부 줍투그리에서
because
아니 줍투그리에서 인자 산요고가 독고도 식으로 하다
because as ourselves being aspirants to wishing to attain the paths of bodhisattvas, wishing to enter into the Mahayana, we should train exactly like all those who have achieved the paths of the Mahayana. And that in particular means training in the 6 causes and 1 effect method. But in order for training in the 6 causes and 1 effect method to actually bring about the result, for those 6 causes to bring about that 1 effect, that result of bodhicitta, bodhisattvas all prior engaged in the reflections on the sufferings of samsara in their entirety, and they did so repeatedly to see the pervasive nature of suffering in samsara, that there is no worthy happiness, no happy experience worthy of striving for within samsara. Reflecting deeply on suffering, they give rise to the mind of definite emergence. This is a crucial point that must be cultivated in order to generate bodhicitta, because we are right now primarily concerned with our own happiness. And recognizing that, how can we genuinely give rise to the wish to free all beings from suffering when we haven't come to recognize our own suffering and thereby haven't given rise to the genuine wish to be freed ourselves from suffering? We have to recognize first and foremost that how the pervasive ways in which we experience suffering and thereby give rise to the strong determination to be freed ourselves from suffering. Then, and only then, based on such a knowledge, such experience, can we successfully engage in the cultivation of the 6 causes that will lead to the one result. So this is a crucial point. So one can engage in a single meditation on both definite emergence and bodhicitta, gaining familiarity with all the steps, but one cannot skip the cultivation of definite emergence. Having generated the wish to be freed of suffering, we then take the result of this meditation and apply it to the situation on others, reminding that they are just the same as us in that they long for happiness, a state freed from suffering. Just like us, they are trapped in the realms of samsara due to the same causes as us, the afflicted minds that creates contaminated karma. Then, seeing that there's no difference between ourselves and others in this way, we then develop this understanding further, this understanding of impartiality, so as to overcome this feeling of closeness to some and distance from others, by reflecting on the close and intimate relationship that we have with beings from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And this is a reflection on that we have a mother in this life, we would have had a mother in our previous lives, etc., throughout beginningless time. And this is what we see here in the first 2 lines of this verse. And moreover, using the kindness of our parents in this life as a basis, we reflect on the kindness that our parents have shown us since beginningless time. And we expand this further, not only thinking about our primary caregivers when we were infants in this life and when children in this life, who were presumably our parents, but thinking about the kindness that others have directly shown us, and so many others have shown us indirectly in just this one life, and therefore would have since beginningless lifetimes too. So therefore, all beings have shown us the direct kindness of a parent, direct kindness that others have shown us, and all beings have also indirectly shown us tremendous kindness too, lifetime after lifetime. In dependence on these reflections, the wish to repay the kindness naturally arises in us, as is common in society, to repay the kindness that others have shown us. And we develop this wish ever further within ourselves, so that it overwhelms in us, seeing it as our responsibility to repay the kindness that others have shown us, to not ignore them, to not put their needs as secondary to ours, but rather as first and foremost. And in dependence on this meditation, we then generate the wish, may they experience only happiness. And in order to experience happiness, may they cultivate the causes for happiness. Those causes cannot be granted, they will not naturally arise. They have to be cultivated by each being individually. May all beings reflect on ethical conduct, generosity, patience, and joyous perseverance. And here, if we wish, at this point in the meditation, we can reflect on these 4 causes of happiness. Then we move on to the next of the 6 causes, the 5th one, that of compassion. And we move to this cause by reflecting, for beings to experience the lasting state of happiness that they desire, they have to attain freedom from suffering. Without being freed of suffering, happiness cannot be experienced. Happiness is freedom from suffering. May all beings experience a state freed from suffering. May all beings eliminate the causes that lead to suffering. And here, if one chooses, one can reflect on the causes that lead to suffering. Contaminated karma, and the afflicted minds. Giving rise to the wish, may all beings engage in the meditations on recognizing suffering, the causes of suffering. May all beings cultivate the antidotes to that, concentration, and the wisdom realizing emptiness. And here, one can meditate on these if one wishes, or later. Now, having cultivated 5 of the 6 causes that lead to the effect of bodhicitta, one develops the minds of love and compassion ever stronger to the point where we see it as our individual responsibility that beings are guided to cultivate the causes of happiness and are guided to cultivate or to eliminate the causes of suffering. So the 6th point is where we take this as our responsibility. We don't leave it to others. We don't leave it to bodhisattvas. We don't leave it to Buddhists. We say, this is my responsibility. I have close and personal connection to so many beings in this one life. They relying on me. They relying on me to spiritually develop, to be a benefit to them. This is my responsibility. And at this point, we develop the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility. And here, we then can take this now with these 6 causes developed. We then go into the cultivation of bodhicitta itself, which is, now that I have accepted with sincerity to guide beings to a state freed of suffering, I need to become a skilled being. I'm not ready to be able to do this for all limitless, kind mother sentient beings. I have to become ready, and I have to become ready as fast as possible. And therefore, I will strive with every fiber of my being to become a Buddha for the sake of others. And this is the generation of bodhicitta. This is the generation of bodhicitta. And through meditating in this way, repeatedly over a sustained period, we will generate the mind of bodhicitta and enter the paths of the bodhisattvas. Here we now can continue with an additional training of bodhisattvas, that of equalizing and exchanging self with others. This is the 11th practice of bodhisattvas. All suffering without exception comes from desiring my own happiness. Perfect Buddhas are born from the altruistic wish to benefit others. Thus, the genuine exchange of my own happiness for all forms of others' suffering is the practice of bodhisattvas.
inara ani kyawa chima dunga inara jesa kamsum khoyi dunga ganisi yimba inayang ndisu gyudan ki me balan juwa mare gyudan ki inchile tine chungu are jesa dini gani gyudan ki inchile tine chungu ina gyudi gani tine gyudan ki gari yungu se yungu yore labna kyawa chima maso ge khoyi maso le kyawa di ani maso ge le ngamba chichene 기고레스 진짜 레나바디 계기 규디 가르치 오세네 되차 콩도 나자 되니기 녀모고 원기 안견치 레사지 레디 원게는 마솔기 안동아 바트메 반용어야 차고래 제데 다나주기 미미 깨바 이나양 안나주기 가르치서 레기 원기 깨와래 때 레디양 아니 레기 원기 깨와래데 아니 레디 개월 제가 레디 계획이 레디 아니 가서 사치기 레디 사치기 레자 아니 코에게 교인지 가지고 류렘비게다 라다 미텐데 류렘 류디 사치기 풍보래 제가 내렸더니 동아 아니 지게 수고 메디에 동아 아니 지게 아니 제 류라네나서 동아 아니 되네 용거래 아니 제사야 동아로서 봐대 안징요 뭐 받겠네 지게 파수 아니 컨트롤랑 펜스 쥐바제 추보자다 소리다야다 니네 누가 봐도 내가 준 거래스 진짜 니네 인자 디체사도 심리적인 용문발을 되는 연구소 년마다 파심주제도 소소 대화 되셔. 소소 다 랑지진 삼바델리리 때문에 랑지진 삼바델리도 진짜 동아 말로가 찾아 주의 유조디 묘모바레 되냐 한 랑지진 델리리도 세월다.
Kunde det tycker man som alltså miki neta den kan kalla sakchekele kolla som du den kallar den rapporter som det yang kan
kallar 사실 아주 레기원에 깨워내와서 아주 풍부히 두된 차돼야 되지. 지금 두된에서 리텔이야 네 나서 자마라 용하여레스. 근데 맞아는 아주 컨트롤다 되셔야 디견진에 파수 주보자다 현在내비게 강아데 아시니가 강아 동아 받으면 용하여레스 디시.
Looking at the first line, all suffering without exception comes from desiring my own happiness. All suffering without exception. So this very clearly shows that it's all the suffering that all of us are experiencing in this life. We have experienced in this life, we are experiencing, and we will still experience. It's not just the suffering that we are experiencing, it's that all beings, all samsaric beings throughout all the samsaric realms are experiencing right now and have experienced in this life and will still experience in this life, and not of course just in this life but since beginningless lives. All suffering without exception comes from desiring my own happiness. So we need to understand that all suffering here relates to all suffering that's been experienced throughout all the realms of samsara, by each and every being in each and every rebirth, since beginningless time, until right now, and will continue as long as they remain bound within the realms of samsara. All suffering without exception. And the suffering comes about in dependence on causes conditions. It's not causeless, it's not bestowed, it's not causeless, doesn't magically appear, comes about in dependence on causes. And these causes are karma. So if you think about beings who are suffering right now in the lower realms, suffering in the lower realms has come about in dependence on non-virtuous karma that beings themselves have accumulated. It has ripened in the propulsion of a rebirth in the lower realms, and it's experienced through further ripenings of negative karma in these lower realms. All the suffering of the lower realms has come about in dependence on negative karma that have been accumulated. That negative karma, that too came about in dependence on causes. The causes for the accumulation of all negative karma without exception is our afflicted minds. The afflicted minds are what led to the accumulation of all negative karma without exception. But then what about the happier migrations, the so-called happier migrations of humans and gods? So these haven't been attained due to negative karma. Rebirth as a human or as a god has not been attained due to negative karma, but due to contaminated karma. And contaminated karma has been accumulated precisely the same way as negative karma, under the influence of minds that are contaminated. Afflictions. It's always the presence of afflictions. And therefore, the aggregates that beings, the aggregates, the physical and mental aggregates of all beings throughout samsara, including those in the happy migrations, are contaminated. Or to express the aggregates, the physical and mental aggregates can be expressed as contaminated or as suffering aggregates because they are the basis of suffering. And therefore, the physical and mental aggregates are true sufferings, because they are the basis upon which suffering is experienced. And therefore, even though we have achieved a precious human rebirth, this body becomes ill. That's because it's a true suffering. The physical aggregates are true suffering because it was acquired due to contaminated karma. In our mental aggregates, we experience a lot of suffering, namely further afflicted minds. And why are our mental aggregates pervaded by suffering? Because our mental aggregates too are true sufferings. They are suffering aggregates, contaminated aggregates. And in this way, we suffer in so many ways. We meet the unwanted, we lose the desire, we don't achieve the desired. We suffer in all these ways. All our suffering, as we see in the end of this line, all suffering without exception, comes from desiring my own happiness. So now we can narrow down the causes to the desire for our own happiness, or to express this desire for my own happiness, the self-cherishing mind, the mind that cherishes ourselves. To express that differently, our obsession with ourselves, our obsession with our own happiness. It's from this, the obsession of our own happiness, our self-cherishing mind, that all suffering without exception comes.
rang charge, rang jets in Jebatin, Maran de Hochusum, de Tundunye, and Digo, Yule Chapake, Yule Dunde Chapadrag, Benangazuki, then Markalashim with Sagutu, Sinizinigazuki, Martoya was Kudus, and Deniki Capsaya Wokudu, Nadi Yuku, Didonala, Benjo said, and Semchen Structure, Songa La Soba, Shem Semching Suecia, Shasaya La Soba, and Joe Mala Soba, and me, Gumaja, Jalatroa, Madi Mana de what goose and Didio digi to your Yeti mission that's a Latoya, and then he Chagoro. I answer so Deva, Mana de what goose and so Deva, or Di Bachi, the Diawoman, the Neva so good Sense, and Delia, and Nadi, I come to New to Sense, Consumer Pigo to the pie. Be the Anjing capture the day you want to marry, you want to make sad. Didn't Magia last over. Didn't you rush it? Didn't say Kalaya Chazan? Didn't you some died? Ram Jebas in the Ram Digi, some delicate Hindus. Just I didn't want to get no more about that. Chidu, Shen, Nyamba, the shadow, Hondo Mangochi, the Diwangele, to Jawanga Mangochi, Diwangelang about Mangosa. Then Leangabas of a lady with the Kiwachimanga, so I Kiwalen. And then Chagorwa, and then it's a divine tools. Dina said, Ram Digi in there, or Ram Digi, just a me, Benjo, the cover job, and I didn't to wear some jet. And Senache, so Senache. I mean, the deuce in the Senache, DJ Wutella, and Marazuki, and Kiwachima in there, and it launch you, Kangatea, and then the young girl. She said, do not get job on the Chazan, so Marazu society. Ram cheese and something I think you would some big dinner, some much legend, Ditone, Decha, Quadro, I get no more Pajata. Not you would need digging on the continue with the subject, there I never saw a Quadrocata, Dinigi, and did Kamatea, last over. Or do Chess and do Shimju Sheva, Mount to do my Chess, get all the ranches in somebody, two churches, and round cheesing, round jebas and round Deva, Zawin to him the did. Mevasu said, did not receive Sheshe Dirisha, some Tangorege.
All suffering without exception comes from desiring my own happiness. This is a crucial point to understand here. It's the wish for our own happiness, which is the root cause of all our suffering. It's from this desiring our own happiness, this self-cherishing mind, this obsession with our own happiness, that all our suffering comes. Desiring our own happiness leads to us to fulfill that desire. We want something, our happiness. We engage in a variety of activities to achieve this. Everything we do is motivated by the wish for our own happiness. When the achievement of our own happiness is impeded, anger arises. If it's impeded slightly, frustration and annoyance arise. When things don't go our way, we get frustrated. And this is all because this desire for our own happiness is being impeded. And immediately there are afflictions arise. Anger, frustration, annoyance. These all arise. And often these don't dissipate quickly. We hold on to these frustrations. And resentment eats away at us. Dislike for others eats away at us. And these sufferings, then, we act under the influence of these suffering minds, these afflicted minds. We respond in a harsh manner to others. We physically abuse others. All physical conflict in the world, whether within the home, between communities, between nations, it comes from the self-cherishing mind. It comes from the self-cherishing mind having its desires frustrated, and then the afflictions come and conflict follows. Similarly, all the class of afflictions related to anger come from the self-cherishing mind's wishes not being fulfilled. Similarly, when the self-cherishing mind, wanting happiness, believes that the achievement of something will bring it happiness, then the achievement of that which is desired, all energy is placed towards. And this then leads to one engaging in our place of work, our business, and all that we engage in our place of work, and our energy to achieve the various things we want in our life. But this is all coming from our desire for our happiness. And it's because of the desire for our own happiness, we strive to acquire this vast array of material comforts because we want happiness. We think that these desired objects that we have to have will bring us that happiness. And when it fails to bring lasting happiness, as it always does, we need the next and the next and the next. And the problems associated with this is not just that it consumes our energy and our lives and wastes our potential, but that further afflictions come from this desire. We take advantage of others so that we get what we want. We deceive others so that we get what we want. We lie to others so that we are thought about in a way that we want to be thought about. We even kill beings so that we can enjoy some sport, so that we can enjoy their flesh. Moreover, wanting our needs to be fulfilled first and foremost, miserliness subtly pervades us. We don't give away what we want for ourselves. We don't share with others what we want for ourselves. We don't give to others what we value and cannot replace. And like this, we suffer with a mind of impoverishment, with all of these afflictions. These afflictions, all of them without exception, whether they're from the class of attachment or the class of anger, come from the self-cherishing mind. This desire for our own happiness is the root cause that leads to the vast array of afflictions, and from these, karma is accumulated. So therefore, all our suffering of all beings in samsara, in all the realms, in all their lifetimes, comes about due to putting our needs, our desires, first and foremost.
Shen the Pembe Samba said, Diki Young, Zawa, Shen the Pembe Samba Shas. Chizan, Shen the Pembe, Shen the Pendo Jona, Sembe Shen the Pembe Samba Chubaina, and I'll get Karchi to Resina. Rangi Shen the Pembe Samba Chubone, Shen Julia, and to Rochepa, Roche to Yada, Rochepaina, and then Sosolina, Digi, Shelina, Digi Yonkores, Chizanga Zugi, that. Shen Julia, Pemper, which Shenlia, Roche, Conjolia, Chopuada, Denigi, Shen Pembe Sambajuna, Denigi Jitures, Dinijiturena, Jimbinia, Yawachitu, Shen la Pembe Sambati, Jimbinia, Chiture. Jimbinia and Jeba Digi, and also Gewachima in Sedelina, Shenlia, Pembe, Shenla Digioya. And then Shen Digiana, Sosoina, Otani, Shenla Pembe, Jibea, Juso, some big Sosolia, Semlia, Toa Digioya, Setila. Sechima Samtavine, and Digi Tibutilla, and the Lonjoya, Lonjoya, and that on the Sedelia, Shala Pembe Samtachi, Jimbata, Comshioba, the Digi King, Shalia, Roger, Jetuyagi, all those young Grece. The Shala Pembe is Samba Yobaina. Numa Yisu Niju, Surimia was Chagores, or the Shala Pembe Samba was only Shala never to Digmares and big, soon as Seveli to Chesa, soon as Sabale, and let to Surimia one Yamachi to water. Surimia was to that Sedil some Davine, Shala never buy the Mishangine or Digioyada, and Mishangine, socially, a meeting on the Shala never give my bear, or as a shade, Sosoine, Gawaya, Sosoine and Shalia, never make you a Yakuchon or Sepiki, and the Gawa Digi. And such a massam Tabin and the Digi, Sutim Digi, Gavachima, Hada Muko, to be dangerously to be good child or dent water, all those days. And then I was again, Senior Comiata, Tabata, Tamjikim, Lam Yamlin Chebala, Sutim Digi, Dinan Yamlin Yawachi to water, Dick Mazako or Dineza, Pingo Reje. And then I also Shanley, Pembe Sambayana. Shengi, Shanlia, Sobokum to the Sabian and Chiture. And then Shanla Pembe Sambayana, and the Shanla Pembe Dundalea, and Jawa, Geshe to Yari, Shanla Pembe to Yagi, Jimba the Sudan Sabian Karchinatil, down, bed down, Dunya, Dubaki to Resere. And the Neza, and Amazuke, Seteta, Yawachima, some Tavala, Negapi, Denigi, Digi, some Tabane, Shanla Pembe Sambadel in the Yungu, Chesa Shanla Pembe Sambat in the Shas. Chesa Shanla Pembe Sambayana. Some gentlemen, they were the same Jamjikum 2 words. They are Jenny Pembe, somebody Delatine, Nijikum Gores, come to war. Delatine, Mazim Jetamji Sanjoko to shows, be Jajusem Bore, come to war. Chizan Jena Pembe, Sabbe Jajusem Gomode, Paju Yamache, Tina Sanjoko Ponseta, Taibada, Tamji Kimba, Sanjoko Pon, Jawachima, Hada Muko Ponsa, Chazad. They you Shana Pembe, somebody let in Ligdus. Chizan, Shana Pembe, Sawatamji. The autumn Juhegi, Yuzo, the Denisha, Jeza, Denis Zobia Sanje, and then Zobia Sanje, Shaman, Semi Chungche, Shin, La Pembe, Samba Delatin, Tungu, Jigu, Chesa, Nerata, Tado, Sanjoko, Chesa, Rang, Shan Jebber Senje, Shan Ya Jebberson, Rang Jebberson by the Dorache, Shan La Jebbersi, Shan La Pembe Samba Tawana, Negap, Chetan, Yawachima, and Lam Yamlintia, Tabada, Tamjikim, Sanjoko, Chazan, Shaman in the Jungle, Shaman, Shaman, Pembe, Samba, Zachim, Shurisha, Serge, or Lucina, and Gomba, some tango resident.
We're going to get Jimpa Tsuchum, Sopaki Kola Sumso, get a young.
Sometimes I share of Goshe,
very tricky.
Sunday share of Susan Duni shares, Sanjoko Watole, Pajin to William, the Jehova, Sanjoko Watoya, Shambe, Simlet in the Jungus and the Rare nature, share more chair.
What has just been presented is the position, the situation of ordinary beings. But the second line then points to those beings which have developed themselves to become beings which are extraordinary. Perfect Buddhas are born from their altruistic wish to benefit others. So here we should immediately see that the situation is completely the opposite, because it's from the wish to benefit others that perfect Buddhas are born. It's from this wish to benefit others, to help those who are in need, that ordinary beings experience happiness themselves, and those that they're interacting with, their burden of suffering is eased. Developing the wish to be of benefit to others, therefore, benefits oneself as well as others. So the direct beneficiary of this action is twofold, oneself as well as others, from this wish to benefit others. Developing the wish to benefit others includes training in meditating on generosity, the wish to help others, the wish to be of benefit to others. As we develop this wish to help others, we'll want to express this in a variety of ways. Help others through the providing of material resources, help others through providing friendship, giving our time to them, and assisting them in whatever way they need from us. This, of course, brings great joy to oneself, because one, having seen the great benefit, the kindness that others have shown us, and given rise to the wish to repay that kindness, here in our meditations, we are enacting the repayment of that kindness. Out of our meditation sessions, we are directly repaying kindness to others, helping them in the moment to ease their burden of suffering, helping them in the way that they need then and there. In this way, we and others experience benefits right now in this life. Moreover, through the karma that we are creating, when this ripens in future lives, we will have an abundance of resources. And why is it important for a bodhisattva to have an abundance of resources? This is so that the bodhisattva, guided by their bodhicitta and the wish to be of benefit to others, has an abundance of resources at their disposal to continue to help others evermore. And therefore, lifetime to lifetime, can keep helping others in ever greater ways. So in this way, through our training bodhicitta, generosity now, we achieve benefits for ourselves and others in this life, as well as ourselves and others in future lives. Furthermore, though, one needs to cultivate the ethical outlook, the mind of restraint. And this is imperative because when helping others, wishing to be of benefit to others, we have to have a mind that's restrained, because we cannot harm others whilst helping them. This is, of course, contrary to the wish of helping them. So we need to also meditate on the ethical conduct and ensure that a mind of restraint guides us, and therefore our physical and verbal actions are restrained, and we can therefore help others unimpeded by any harmful minds. So this is imperative. And through doing so, whilst helping others, guided by not only our wish to benefit them, the mind of generosity, but also our intent not to bring harm, the ethical outlook. This ensures that our relationships with others are close. Beings will see us as trustworthy. They will know that we are helping them not for any self-interest, but because we value them, we care about them. We're not doing this to get something in return. Thereby, we build closer and trusting relations. And why is this important? For us as aspirant bodhisattvas, and in particular for bodhisattvas, it's independent on these close relationships with others, that one can be of influence to them, guide them, how to accumulate virtue themselves. The practice of ethics, as we know, leads to the causes which ripen in good rebirths in our future lives. Moreover, the training in ethics is the crucial basis upon which the training in concentration can be developed. And the training in concentration, which is based on the training of ethics, these two are required for the later development of the training of wisdom. So the higher training of wisdom comes from the prior cultivation of the higher training of concentration, which comes from the the prior development of the higher training of ethics. All good qualities comes from ethics. And furthermore, training in the wish to benefit others, generosity, the wish not to harm others, ethics, the mind of restraint, is the ideal basis in dependence on which we train in patience. So if you think about it, when one is impatient, when our mind is disturbed in the face of adversity, how can we be benefiting others if our mind is disturbed? How can we be sure we are not harming others if our mind is disturbed? So therefore, we must train in patience. And the training in patience comes about easily in dependence on the cultivation of generosity, the wish to give, and ethics, the determination not to harm. Patience we relate to ensuring that our mind stays undisturbed in the face of adversity, whether from others or our own inner turmoil, or any the difficulties we experience in our spiritual practice. And in dependence on the causes that we create from patience, we will be able to have ever closer relations with others in future lives, complete sense faculties, and thereby be able to continue our spiritual progression and help others. So here in training in this way, focused on others, we are creating a very powerful basis for the generation of love and compassion. So we've seen that the perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic wish to benefit others, and thereby we train in generosity, ethics, and patience, the ideal causes for developing love and compassion, and the ideal causes for training in the 6 perfections. So in dependence on developing the wish to benefit others, we can much more easily develop love and compassion, thereby develop bodhicitta, thereby engage in the 6 perfections, and thereby Buddhahood is achieved. This whole stream of realizations comes about in dependence on wishing to benefit others. Happiness in this life for oneself and others, happiness in future lives for oneself and others, happiness that is ordinary, happiness that is extraordinary, that of liberation and enlightenment, all comes about in dependence on the wish to benefit others.
rang chasing some people rang dewa de big some loti and tele duma change Shen Jeba tele pa Shen Jeba Zimba Shen Jeba Zine Shen Jeba Zin Shen dewa de some loti dele teneta di chasan juya di mudu deninza di pangi Shen Jawa Karisha Shen the Pebishu Mado Rang Dewa de Devi Dondalia Jawakini Chigme Chesa di some loti pa Dorje Shen Jeba Zin Rang Jeba Zimbo de pa Dor Shen Jeba Zin Shen Jeba Shen Digi Juya Shen Digi Dondala Susura Kama Kazachunda, Dunga Kazachunda, Keka Mindu Chesa, Shen Digi Shen the Pemba Chogana, Susura Dumayana, and Gayana, Kabarkai Mindus, Chesa Shen Digi Shen Pemba Duya Dondala Yangi, Galekazakana, Dagi in Sebe, or do some daddy, Mazuget Dashe, Nemche, some data de Chagore, and Dinienza, Deshe, Dashen Chibi, Dunga Da. Yada Jawa, Geshe Lali, City, Tinienza, Chesa, Shen Digi go sometime to Chita, that Shen Semja Tam, Dunga Kanisina Susu, two Jingi, Jengalia team, Shandati Dunga, Zangpo, Jawa show some other. That me give our Kanisina soon, Deo Yobada, Deo UK Sharp, Sayu, Shen Pasimja Paji, Yonji Minje, Simjan Hamjilla. Digi Jua show some big, then the Dashin, Shengi, Dungada, Rangi Leda, Rangi Dikipa, Shanlet, some Jegi, two Tibi, Mabachis, Duchin, Donin, Combia, and no Duchin, and Yam Nangores, China Jason Namki, Jason Magin, Denigi, 다시 랑지지 삼바 잠비기 되어되게 선부 된 통제 예를 된다 타지도 될 된다 방아제다 아니 현재버집에 삼모티 디기주의 규자와인 삼단에 현재 제버집으로디 아니 지 다신 지금 안디도 수검제 장주심 기야래 장주심 아니 semja 탐지 상요고 바토바지베 장주심 기두고 그래서 진짜 장주심 기에야 아니 랑기 다 장주심 공비 갑레나다 기 사유제레나 안 파주고 냠는 제하다 시행이 디기주에 돈달라 파진주에 냠는 제하 아니 시행이 다도시네 시행이 동화 전체 소소处理 시행 동화 탐지 semja 탐 동화다 자서스면 마바지 랑기 대위 대화다 대위주에 개화자 현 탐제 semja를 파당 semja 탐지라 디기 중소 sem비가 마바지 도치네 다시 냠제 내가 소리 동화 디기 다시 냠제 모두스로 검제 한 제주심바 남기 두신 당보드네 냠네제 두신 냠네지 고레스 모두스네 다 게셀라리 인세 디스고레
Here we reflect on these first two lines. All suffering without exception comes from desiring my own happiness. Perfect Buddhas are born from the altruistic wish to benefit others. Because what these two lines are showing to us is that all suffering, misery and torment that beings experience comes from one cause, this great monster that is the self-cherishing mind. All the bliss that Buddhas experience and all the great joy that Bodhisattvas experience comes about in dependence on the other cherishing mind. So these first two lines are about lead us to reflect on the faults of the other cherishing mind, the faults of the self-cherishing mind, and the benefits of the other cherishing mind. Reflecting well like this leads to the spontaneous wish arising within us, or the spontaneous determination: I will never harm others. I will only benefit others. I won't neglect the needs of others. I won't push myself to the forefront any longer. Rather, I will ensure that I guard my mind, be aware of the presence of the self-cherishing attitude, and abandon it. I commit to embracing the other cherishing mind, placing the needs of others first and foremost. It's important to spend time reflecting on the faults of self-cherishing, the benefits of other cherishing. And that then, when we're gaining great certainty, when we've given rise to a strong desire to never come under the control of the self-cherishing mind, but live a life of meaning and benefit to others, we then come to the third line, the third and fourth line. Thus the genuine exchange of my own happiness for all forms of other suffering is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So this practice of equalizing, exchanging self with others comes about in dependence on the prior meditation on the faults of the self-cherishing mind and the benefits of the other cherishing mind. And when we have gained realization of this, so there's no doubt at all, no lack of clarity that we will live our life under the control of the other cherishing mind, then we are ready to actually engage in this practice of equalizing, exchanging self with others, and the practice of taking and giving. And this is where we develop the determination that in my endeavors to benefit others, whatever hardships I encounter, whether they're in my on the cushion, whether they're in my interactions with others, whatever form these hardships take, those hardships will not overcome me, meaning my mind will stay focused on others. Virtue will stay dominant in my mind. I will not allow the afflictions to dominate. In fact, I will embrace these hardships with joy, knowing that it's through transforming the situations that I'm easing the burden of others, whether directly or indirectly. With this understanding, we're then ready to engage in meditation on the practice of taking and giving. We visualize the sufferings that others are experiencing, taking them on, imagining others being freed of those sufferings, giving to them the virtue that we are created. Imagine the virtue ripening on their continuum. And this, engage in this visualization, taking on the sufferings of others, giving the causes of happiness to others. Moreover, though, whenever we do experience difficulties, whether it's in practice, meditation, whether it's in interacting with others or in any way, the joyful attitude, we see this now as an actual situation, a real-world situation, where we can take on the suffering that is being experienced and transform it into virtue. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas.
Da ram chesing samba soso digi de soso jigu digi de da ram chesing samba dela tene ani ji dunga tene yungo ba de du chene sam da ya da jeba che sam da ya da tene yen le pembe samba jeba ina dela tene ne gar chikke de dishi sheba na shi ani yen le pembe samba chikke ba ina di thone soso rang ge yen le pembe gi jawa ji tu ge jimbe yam la so ba je da yen le chujum so ya la so ba da je tu ya da de ne ge so ba da zun ju an de ne sam de she la so ba yam le ji tu du je za da de ne za mi ne ya ni je ju sem ba de ge du cha le na ba de yam ne du nang go de je za ni ne ra ji sin sam ba de ji ma jo je yen le pembe sam ba de gang tu ge di ne di ke le de be su chi ne gong gu sam je ni ya di sam da ko mya da ani ya ji gedi in ya ma su le ga ro che we na ka wa zhuo bei ne ya da ma ji ge gun wa de ya ji xian le pen bi sam jin da sam bi sam ya ne ya do sam da zhen ba dian jie ani xi xin da zhen ba dian ji le ga ro chi de ani ge ji ge ga le chi na o de rang di gi de be sam ba de li ge de min du sam be ge sam lo che xi xin ge sam da那个南沙的那个里面的战备电器的，他之前呢也不要买的，这上面这些现在判别去的一拿，现在判别中国的这三节，都现在三大讲这个战备的细心电器，然后这些三落地怕盖呀当，现在把这么三落地，这样的用的搞给的呢，你给给等到了别处去的，我们给你们接回的，你给什么吃过的？这上面这个第一，但来这里的你的。那敌人学会他们就地过来的那些，但因为也不晓得的，的因为就经验把些蒙古话就说把经验难得开呀给地过嘛学的。
So for ourselves, who aspire to enter the Bodhisattva paths, who aspire to become Bodhisattvas, the way to practice here, the way to meditate here, is to reflect on the faults of the self-cherishing mind, the benefits of the other cherishing mind. Reflect that the self-cherishing mind, this motivation that we have to achieve our happiness first and foremost, even if it's at the expense of others. It's from this that every painful experience that we have encountered, every hardship that we have encountered, every unwanted situation has come from this. We need to reflect on this in great detail so that we give rise to the clear commitment that this is what we need to abandon. This is our true enemy. Second step of the meditation is to reflect on the benefits of the other cherishing mind. The wish, the sincere wish, to be an instrument that alleviates suffering of others, to be an instrument that brings joy to the life of others, to be an instrument that leads beings to achieve not only temporary happiness, but the ultimate happiness of Buddhahood. It's from being under the control of this other cherishing mind that all joy follows for oneself as well as others. And in the second point of this meditation, the second point of the meditation, the cultivation of the benefits of the other cherishing mind, leads to the determination that this is the mind that needs to dominate myself. So us then, as aspirant bodhisattvas, we need to meditate on these two steps, and then in our daily life rely on our companions of mindfulness and introspection always to guard our mind, and in every moment be mindful of our thoughts, and when, in particular, when we are in the presence of others, be mindful of our thoughts. And as soon as we notice our motivation, having ourselves first and foremost, to destroy that, change our focus to the other cherishing mind, ensure that in every interaction we have directly with others, as well as when we are alone, that our way of thinking is always virtuous, is always about benefiting others. So this meditation for aspirant bodhisattvas and the utilization of this technique between sessions is of great importance. And if one puts a lot of energy and effort into this, lasting transformation will come. So we'll conclude here then for this morning. This afternoon we'll start with the verses or the practices of bodhisattvas that are about transforming adverse circumstances, that the variety of adverse circumstances, into the paths of bodhisattvas. So thank you.